Welcome to Dan's Corner, where I talk. I'm Dan Clemens. I'm the Ward 4 City Council member, Lansing, Kansas, where we're talking about the 20 January meeting from my perspective and the events, and I'll tell you how I voted on certain things and these upcoming episodes. The first thing that we do in every city council member session is we vote on the minutes from the previous one.
Okay.
So what normally would have been the 6th January meeting, I was not installed yet. I was installed on the 10th, but I did attend. Mm-hmm. I've attended every city council member meeting since I decided to run. So, but I was doing it from the audience, and we've discussed that last time. It's a little bit different when you're sitting behind the chair and you're having to think about everybody in your district, how it affects the entire city.
Yes.
So the first thing that was on the agenda for that meeting was election of a president. Don Studica from the 2nd Ward was the current president, and Kerry Baumgardner from Ward 3, he was the retired principal from one of Lansing schools, volunteered to be president. He's had 27 years on the board, so nobody objected to him being president. I certainly didn't.
It's nice to have some experience leading the meetings.
It certainly does. So I was glad to see him do that. Mr. Baumgardner also is on the fire district. I didn't know if you knew that.
Oh no, I didn't realize that.
In the December meeting, they started electing people that's on the council, and Mr. Baumgardner is on the fire district as well. We've got 3 positions: the mayor, Mr. Baumgardner, and Mr. Studica, the outgoing president, are on the fire district as Lansing representatives. So it gives some continuity between the city and the fire district and what's happening between them. He was unanimously accepted as the president. The next thing that was on the agenda was out at our wastewater plant. One of the tanks broke. Ooh. So they've had to transfer as much as they could to other tanks. We've got the ability to do that. But now they have to clean out all the residue at the bottom of the tank so they can get to the mechanics. So we discussed how that's done, how much it costs, and we did approve the money to get rid of all that sludge and everything at the bottom.
That's kind of important.
And yeah, the pictures were quite telling. So, but
hey, if you ask, he'll put them in the next email.
They have pictures.
Okay.
But I didn't know that they have rock and filters at the bottom that help decompose the solid waste and have it act in those tanks.
Oh, cool.
And they have to actually put a device down there, like a skid loader, and actually scoop everything out and get down to the bottom of the tank. And they haven't completed that yet because they're having to do tests on what kind of material is in there, what kind of waste, because people pour strange things down the toilet. So they actually have to test to see what kind of chemicals and stuff is in that residue before we can take it down to the transfer station, because they need to know whether they can treat it as just rock and fill material, or if they have to treat it as a biohazard. So that's what's going on right now. So we are 1 tank down, and I've been really impressed with the wastewater people and their level of knowledge. So we did approve that, and I did vote in favor of doing that. I thought it was important for everybody.
Oh, yes, thank you.
So the next thing coming up, as I promised in the last one, was getting somebody from the council. The way that they do different committees that affect Lansing is they put it up for a city council member first, and if they don't have a city council member that is interested in doing it, they will advertise it for a citizen to be able to sit on the council and they report, on that committee
Yeah.
and report back.
Oh, cool.
So the one that's up, we have one position representing Lansing on the Leavenworth County Port Authority.
Mm.
So, no, we're not talking about ships. The Port Authority does economic development and doing industry and bringing in business to Leavenworth County.
Oh, yeah.
So the Leavenworth County Port Authority, they represent Tongi, Bonner Springs, Basur, Leavenworth, and a couple of others. I haven't quite remembered not all of them, but I got the fire hose treatment from the outgoing member, so I've got a stack of books to read. But I volunteered for that.
Okay, good.
And so I am also on the Port Authority because, again, one of my campaign promises was to try to get more industry in here to take some of the pressure off the homeowners on their taxes. So the more industry we get in, the more sales tax we're doing, the less home property tax we would need. Industry makes money for the city in multiple ways. First of all, from the products that they sell. Then the traffic, gas stations, so it's not just that one. Then you've got people that work here that will be paying taxes on their salary. And then the things that they buy generate taxes as well. So the dollar that is spent in a industry gets recirculated 3 or 4 times before it leaves the community. So when we're looking at bringing in industry, you have to say, okay, some people will complain that, if they give them a cut rate on taxes, the industry, or give them the property for free, well, how long does it take to get that money back? If you give somebody a tax break on property, you look at how big that company is, how many employees they've got, how much money they're going to generate, how much they're going to pay in taxes, and how long is it before we recoup that money. Generally, it's a very short time.
Okay.
So when you're talking with industry, it's how big they are, what are they doing, what are their annual sales, and you have to be frugal with taxpayer money, not giving stuff away, but at the same time, you want to entice that company to come in to the county, because it's not just Lansing. These people drive through Leavenworth. They're coming from other communities, and they stop and get gas. They stop and get food, and then they come to us. And the mayor actually put in the Connections, the quarterly newspaper for Lansing, the results of a survey that he did on what does the citizens want to see in the Lansing Town Center.
I like that. That's a good idea.
So the number one, I believe, I'm working off of memory, was a grocery store. They want to see grocery store in Lansing.
You have the grocery store in Lansing?
No.
Sorry, I don't live in Lansing.
They're all in Leavenworth, the town of Leavenworth. Right across the street from Lansing.
And sometimes, because I don't live here, even though everybody knows I spend a lot of time up here, I'm not really always for sure exactly where the lines lie. And so I thought that the Price Chopper was here.
No, the Price Chopper is well inside the Leavenworth city limits.
I need to learn my lines.
Dillon's is on Eisenhower, but they're on the north side of Eisenhower, which puts them in Leavenworth.
Okay.
The new hamburger place that's on Eisenhower is also in Leavenworth because it's on the north side.
Yep.
Eisenhower is the dividing line for Lansing and Leavenworth, with the exception on the highway, Main Street.
That's a Culver's, isn't it?
It is a Culver's.
Yeah, that's our favorite.
Right? The money from that one goes to Leavenworth.
Sorry guys, I still like Culver's.
I understand. But QT and Aldi's are actually in Lansing. That little corner right there is in Lansing. So got a lot of interesting things coming up.
Yeah.
And then one of them, you need to read the Connections, because the mayor talks about the new construction coming up at the Eisenhower-Lansing interchange.
Sounds like that's a teaser.
It's some people, it would be painful, but it's going to be so much nicer when it's done. I'll tell you part of it. We're gonna have 2 left-hand turn lanes off of Eisenhower, onto Eisenhower from I-7. Remember how it backs up and blocks traffic because so many cars are wanting to turn? We're gonna actually have 2 turn lanes.
When I come through here, right after work, going up to meetings and dinner and such in Leavenworth, yeah, sometimes it can be kind of rough.
Right, and they're gonna put in a turn lane in front of QT for people wanting to turn on Eisenhower so they're not blocking that right-hand lane turning right.
Oh, cool.
And they can take advantage of the turn on right and all that. So it's a cooperative between the city of Lansing, the county of Lansing, the state, and Lansing. Everybody concerned that uses that. That's one of the busiest intersections in Kansas.
Oh, really?
The chief of police, I also do the Citizens Academy where you go through teaching of all the different directors, and the chief of police just recently told me he thinks that our commuter rate is somewhere over 30,000 cars.
Wow, that's a lot.
Because you got all the Fort people coming through, you got the Leavenworth people through, coming to Legends going the other way.
Yeah.
So it is a very busy intersection. So it needs to be upgraded.
And I don't think, if you don't live right in this area, I don't think people realize how much back and forth there is between Western Wyandotte and Lansing and Leavenworth.
Absolutely.
We don't really think of it much as out of town. That's just, we use all of it. We go there. Nothing's more than 25 minutes away. And you drive 25 minutes without thinking twice.
Absolutely. So these are the kind of things that the council does. We've actually put in a combined proposal to the state, getting state funds because it affects so many different communities.
Yeah.
And we're trying to make sure that that intersection is safe. And that's the bottom line. We want it to be safe.
Sure.
So the last item on the agenda was the city redistricting, the maps. Because after the census, we're required to try to even out the population between the wards. Mm-hmm. And you have to keep them within the census guidelines. You can't just do a house and go by, split a house from their neighbor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So if you look on the GIS, the census blocks, I forget the terminology for it, but they have different areas and they have a number of houses in that area. So when you move lines, you have to stay within that block. You can't divide up the blocks. So they're taking a look at where the boundaries are on the different wards, trying to balance them out so all the wards have as close to the same number of citizens as the next one. And in that ward map, we do discount the prisons. Even though they go into the census numbers, we don't do it on the census because they don't vote.
Yeah.
They don't vote. They do get some support from us because if they have a break or emergency, our police and our first responders from around, to include the sheriffs, that's what I mean, they're around, will do the exterior of the prisons and let the prison guards take care of the interior. So they do some support, but as far as voters, and that's what the ward maps are focused on, is the voters.
And I realized, because it's a big deal in big conversations right now, that our friends at the state were doing that. I didn't realize that the municipalities had to do it too.
Yeah.
So I'm learning a lot tonight.
It is a requirement. So after the census, so it wasn't anybody wanted to redraw it. We're required to balance out the people, but one of the caveats is we have to use that Census Bureau boundary locations, and we have to do the entire boundary pieces and parts.
I think that's kind of cool. What do you think, Lansing?
Interested to hear.
Yeah.
So that comes to the end of the agenda, and one thing that was brought up at the end, a couple of councilmen was wondering if we wanted to discuss mask mandates and the vaccines. And it did not come up for a vote. The mayor said that he would prefer at this time to talk to the Leavenworth County Health Department, and him and the city administrator got an appointment to go see them. And we'll let you know about that on the 3 February meeting.
Episode 4. Once again, he said he was going to give you some teasers.
Thank you again for coming to Dan's Corner, where you get the perspective of the city council agenda and events from my perspective and how I vote, so my citizens can get to know me. And as one resident in Pebble Beach said, once I vote for you, I never see you again. I don't want you to say that about me. So this is episode 2, covering the 20th of January, and I'll see you again. In the next episode, we'll be covering the working session.
That's going to be a fun one. You're going to like that.